So Arthur C. Clarke is one of my favorite authors. He wrote a book called 2001 and then the sequel 2010. If any of you haven't seen the movie 2001, I would urge you to look at it. It's actually, even though it's an old movie, it's an amazing movie about the implications of AI potentially. And what he writes here is really interesting to think about. As we move into a realm where AI becomes more and more embedded in our lives and becomes more and more human-like or becomes more and more intelligent, we do need to start to think about it as a moral actor that might have its own value and something that we want to value for its innate capabilities. And by thinking about it that way, I believe we'll be more able to handle the longer-term ethical implications of what we're going to be doing with the AI. It's still very early days, but some of the questions that come up around this is, for example, can you hurt an AI that may seem like it has feelings? As AIs get actually intelligent enough to interact with us on a peer level, if this happens in the next 20, 30 years, can we kill an AI? What kind of rights do they have? Can humans hurt robots? So just a good thing to think about over time. Obviously a cartoon, but in some ways not that far from the truth. We talked about voice recognition earlier in that panel. This is the chart. Right now, in limited situations, it's as good as people. It's going to be better soon. The difference is AI can do this in limited situations. It can do it on your phone. It can do it in a phone tree. It can do it in a known circumstance. It can't actually understand all conversation and multi-party conversations. But that probably will be not too far away, maybe 5, 10 years. Better than us, image recognition. So right now, machines make fewer errors when you say, is this a cat or is this a muffin? And that may sound really kind of trivial and like a parlor game, because it certainly doesn't do everything that we really need to do with image recognition. At the same time, this is a really important thing to think about as well, because many of the tasks and the things that we're doing involve recognizing images, understanding what they do, and just being able to really be accurate in what we're doing. When machines can start to do that better than us, it's really important and very valuable and powerful. I'm not sure how much they talked about this earlier, but there's two kinds of AI right now. Strong AI and weak AI. So strong AI is like the woman from Ex Machina, which was another really interesting movie about AI, pretty recent. And that's an AI that is creative, can learn on its own, doesn't need massive amounts of data to understand problems, can become like us, or perhaps smarter than us in a general sense. Not like recognizing, is this a cat or is this a muffin? Much more like, how do I get to Mars? Or how do I overthrow the US government? Just as an example. Weak AI. So that's an image of a security guard, which is now patrolling some malls, patrolling some complexes, and I think some of the campuses, I think Microsoft has them. This is weak AI. It has artificial intelligence. It's designed to roll around and not fall over. It's designed to look for intruders or spot things that are out of order. But that's all it does. And it's never going to be anything more than that. Right now, the vast majority of what we see, including systems that seem really smart, are actually weak AI. So even driverless cars are weak AI. It's designed to drive, but if you took the technology from the driverless car and put it in a plane, it would crash the plane immediately. If you put it in a boat, it wouldn't know what to do. So in that sense, it's very narrow because it's not adaptable. It can't do anything that changes. So when we talk about emergent technology or emergent AI, that means AI that has its own creativity, that can do things that we didn't expect it to do. And yes, the chatbots are a simple example of that. But we're starting to see a few signs in limited realms of what we call emergent AI that are really breathtaking. In this particular instance, you probably remember, I believe it was last year or earlier this year, I forget exactly when, a machine, an AI, a supercomputer, beat the human expert, the best human expert in the world at Go, which is a very complicated Asian board game. The scientists had actually predicted that this wouldn't happen for another 5 to 10 years. What was most interesting about this is in that game, the AI started to do some moves that the human engineers that programmed it and even human Go experts had no idea what it was doing. They looked at it and thought, this doesn't make any sense. And so this is an early sign, very early, doesn't mean we're approaching superhuman intelligence, but very early sign that yes, sometimes these systems that we don't understand can do things that are creative and beyond what we might otherwise have thought of. But this system actually was programmed with the same type of neural networks that Professor O talked about. So the scientists actually don't know what's going on inside that Go system. So in the book, as a way to think about AI and technology in general, we framed these 3 questions. And it's designed to be a simple version of how to think about newer technologies, to try to understand their implications, to try to communicate it with other people, and to try to make sense of it in our world. Because right now, most people, they don't even have time to keep up with their email, let alone think about technology. The reason why we feel this is so important is because in a lot of things that happened in the past with technology, there wasn't a lot of input from society or us as citizens. You think about our data and what happened. Most of our data was collected without us ever really being aware of it, understanding it, or even really wanting to know what was happening. That's because we just weren't informed. And over time, that became a problem, as you start to see with some of the things around Equifax. That's a very early example. That's happened again in the digital realm, where Facebook by default will put facial recognition on as a feature when you tag a person. So by doing that, you're teaching Facebook that this face is this person, and it can then assign that across all the other images of that person. So that's why a lot of people don't like to put their children's pictures in Facebook. So in the future, we would like it to be much closer, or we would like people to be able to say, yes, I have an interest in this technology, and here's how I want it to evolve. And so this framework hopefully will help people think about it.